Welcome back, City fans. Here we are again with the City Boys podcast. My name is Ethan Thornton. Today, I'm joined by my great friends, Jacob Ratcliffe and Grayson Knight. We are here today to discuss St. Louis City's most recent matchup against the Colorado Rapids. We got a lot of news to discuss today. We're going to preview our upcoming match against Atlanta United. And of course, we got Kick Clash for you guys. It's a good episode coming up. We do have a lot of news to cover today, but first of all, how are y'all doing?
Feeling good. It's honestly hard to say that after these past couple matches for St. Louis City, but as you can see, I'm channeling some St. Louis Blues. Hopefully that Stanley Cup season, if you guys remember, of course you remember, we were dead last at some point that season. We came out on top at the end of it all. So all I'm asking St. Louis, clinch that playoff spot and let's see how far we can go.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody on this is feeling good today. I feel exactly the way I felt in the previous episode, and I was really hoping that this game would hold me out of those depths of despair. But no, we got mollywopped. So I feel really down, really sad.
Yeah, not exactly an ideal way to spend a Wednesday night watching your favorite club get kicked around on the field. I mean, truly a dominant performance from Colorado. But before we get into that, we have some big transfer news on the market, some important players in, some important players out. I want to hear about Jacob's transfer first.
Yeah, so surprise, surprise, I'm covering the AZ transfer. It is no surprise that he is my least favorite player that was on the roster, so I am probably the most happy about this transfer, but the numbers are we traded him to Columbus Crew. We are getting $650,000 in general allocation money over the next 2 seasons, split in half, right down the middle, 325 over this season and next season, and then a potential extra 250,000 in general allocation money for if he fulfills some of the statistical things that haven't been released, but I'm assuming it's going to be like starts, minutes played, goal contribution, stuff like that. In a completely separate trade from the AZ trade, we also are acquiring Hartel. He is coming over from Bundesliga to St. Pauli. He scored 21 goals and had 15 assists in 37 games, so he is a proven goal scorer. And with our run of form, it is going to be much needed here in about a month-ish when we're able to start playing him on the field. The transfer technically hasn't been announced yet, but all over the internet it is saying that it's confirmed, so we should be hearing about it in a couple of days. You guys probably are going to hear about it before we even talk about it. So, yeah, we got him, and then I think Grayson's going to take us to our next little bit of transfer news.
Yeah, guys. So another striker, kind of. We picked up Cedric Two-Shirt. This is confirmed on St. Louis City's end. You can find the announcement video on Twitter, on Instagram. It's a pretty sweet little call to St. Louis. I think the shot itself has a scarf that has like St. Louis City scarf and it's got Toikert's jersey on the wall with his former club, Hanover, and it's in a St. Louis soccer bar. I can't remember the name of the bar specifically,
Amsterdam
but
Tavern.
pretty cool call out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty cool call out to the city. So clever from them. Yeah, so Tukert, he's 27-year-old German, played for Hanover 96 in Germany's second division, that being the Bundesliga 2. Scored 48 goals and 21 assists in 194 pro matches. Made a couple stops in Germany with Berlin, Schalke, SC Nuremberg. Um, Really, he's gonna be in our minds, he's kind of looking like he might be a striker. A couple places have him marked as a center attacking mid, may be able to play on the left, but he's gonna bring goals and hopefully um, some cohesion to this team in our offense. And yeah, I'm excited to see him join the squad.
It is a very exciting prospect. He is a proven goal scorer. Both of those, Toykert and Hartel, are certainly to bolster our attack throughout the second half of the season, which we've seen we desperately need. We have a couple more important transfers for you. We have Nicholas Deere on his way out after 2 starts. I think in total, he played 136 minutes for St. Louis City. So, pretty prolific player on his way out. Headed back to the homeland to Randers FC. This does open up an international spot for us. Most likely will be occupied by one of our incoming transfers, whether it be Hartel or Toykert. Doesn't really matter. What the important thing is we have that slot, and hopefully Deere is back home and just enjoying his football. That it's tough to see, but I think this is an A+ transfer for all parties involved. And the final transfer news of this big story is Jake Girdwick Reich is on his way in. The 20-year-old Australian comes to St. Louis City for around 800,000 US. I think it was a club record signing over there in Australia. Jake Girdwood Reich occupies the center defensive mid and center back roles. I think this, in my mind, this guy is going to be our own Tim Parker one day. He is signed through 2027, and he will occupy an international slot as well as a U22 initiative spot. We mention all these things because, as you all know, the MLS roster rules are tricky, confusing, and extremely nuanced. So, if you're really interested in the details, I recommend looking on Transfer Market.
Yeah, I have to say overall, I think the ins and outs that are happening for the squad are A pluses. I foresee a backline with Jake and Wenzel as our two replacements for the aging Joachim Nielsen and Tim Parker. Probably in about 2 seasons, I think Tim Parker's contract ends in at the end of next season. And then with the volatile injury, uh, constant injuries that come with Joachim Nielsen, this is probably going to be the look for our two center backs. And then no surprise, again, we need firepower up top. So the two proven goal scorers over in Germany are coming in to play a very German system and help us get back on the score sheet. So I have no real complaints. Obviously, I'm the happiest with AZ out. Um, did we cover the new news that Sam Adeniran is being put up for trade talks?
I'll go ahead and cover that in my point a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, that's another big name that is possibly in transfer talks to get on out of St. Louis. So yeah,
It's been a
I'll dive a
wild
little
week,
bit
man.
further into that later in the episode. But
My fault.
Chef Chef
no,
Lutz
you're good.
is stirring the pot. There is no doubt about that. I have a lot of trust in our sporting director. He's the top of the club, and when the team is going through tough times, a lot of people think that that can be reflective of the leadership at the club, which I think does carry a lot of weight. Although I think that Lutz has recognized the change is needed, and he's brought in that change. He's sent out some change as well. With all that being said, though, guys, we ready to get into the Colorado Rapids game?
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
rip it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the wonkiest starting lineup that we have had in the year and a half that we have been a club. It is a 5-3-2, and we have three players playing completely out of position and two players playing different variations of their position. So bear with us as we go through this. As always, the man between the sticks, Roman Berkey, nothing's changed there. Thomas Totland out at right wing back. Next to him, Jake Nerwinski at right center back. Then you've got Yarrow at central center back. And then Anthony Markinich, who's normally an out-and-out left back, is playing left center back. And then Akil Watts, who's normally an out-and-out left back, is playing left wing back. Then our center three, Chris Durkin on the right, Njabala Blum in the center, and Edu Leuven out on the left. And then Jose Kojima and Zhao Klaus up top. And I said it before, the three players playing completely out of position are Jose Kojima, Jake Nervinsky, and Anthony Markinich, and then Thomas Totland and Akil Watts playing a different variation of what they're used to. And with this lineup, you could see that it didn't really work. Nobody really knew what they were doing, what their assignments were. There was too much space between our back line and our midfield. And yeah, it just did not go to plan. What'd you guys think of the lineup?
I
Um,
yeah, I wasn't too keen on it as well, Jacob. I the 5-3-2, I don't think executes our style well. I don't think it fits the roster that we have very well. Going into this game, I believe we only had something like 75% of our entire roster available to begin with. So we're going into this game shorthanded. We're switching up the tactics and the formation. It's a tough ask for the players. So I don't fault them too hard for the confusion, although frustrating watch seeing them go out like that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one this week, missing our two starting center backs and Tim Parker and Joachim Nielsen. So, of course, switching to a five at the back would seem to be an easy fix to help shore up the back line. Obviously, didn't go too hot. Um, I think there's just a lot of frailties in this squad, and I'll get into it a little bit more in my point, but it definitely shows itself when you take a look at the bench and how many quality options we have coming off the bench. It's definitely taken a hit since how the club looked last season.
I think everybody was playing armchair analyst and everybody else got it right except for Carnell with the lineup. We talked about this in our group chat. I think it would have made the most sense, especially on short notice, to just stick with the 4-2-3-1, promote Wenzel to starting center back, or even have Nervinsky play center back as he played center back a little bit for his previous club. I was very, very not hot on this lineup when it got published.
No, Anthony Markinich's defensive performances, in my opinion, have not warranted a stint at center back. And although I didn't think he performed terribly in that role this match, and was even a little surprised to see him get subbed toward the end, it showed that his strengths are on the wing. So yeah, just disorganized kind of from the jump this game.
Yeah, I definitely thought that Akil Watts definitely would have shown more in that center, or Mark Hannick would have shown more on that left wing back position, and Akil Watts be more central, so because he does have that at least experience playing in that center back role in the past. So that's what I would have picked.
I thought Akil, he had really good moments playing in that wingback spot. He had that crazy run that he went on. But I agree the fact that Markinich was playing center back was wild. Now, I do think Markinich had a really good game there. He played as far as the center back position goes, I don't think he had a good game. But as far as his game went, he going up against his former club, you could definitely tell that he didn't want to lose this game.
Agreed. Agreed, which was a good fire to have. We also got to see some new appearances for St. Louis City. Brandon McSorley made his debut for the club, came on in the 80th minute and played for 10 minutes. I thought he didn't get many touches, but I thought promising looking player. John Klein also made his second appearance for the first team this season, which means that I believe to use him anymore, we have to sign him to the first team for the remainder of the season.
That's correct.
So some interesting late subs. I also thought that Indy provided a lot of fire off the bench. He was probably one of the only 11 to look like he really, really wanted this game. Just to wrap up the starting 11, do we know the extent to Joachim Nielsen's injury yet, or is it still undisclosed?
I'm assuming it's a hamstring, probably out for 2 to 3 months.
That's tough scenes. Josh Yarrow, in my opinion, didn't have his strongest performance of the season. We've talked very highly of him so far, and I felt a little bit let down last night.
Yeah, I think kind of wrapping up both points real quick. With having these new signings come in until we get there, the obvious for me is to sign Wenzel to the first team full time. Copa America is going to be going on. I know Canada just lost Argentina as we're recording this, but Hebert's going to be gone for some time, like not 2 to 3 months long, but I don't think he's going to be coming back before the transfer window opens up for us to be able to start playing. Like if Jake comes in and, wows us, that's still a month away. We don't have we can't take more losses like this over the course of the next month and still have playoff hopes. So I think promote Wenzel, get him in there as depth, to play and sub in behind Yarrow and Tim Parker. And then we got to start finding goals.
Yep. Yep. Well said, Jacob. Well, I think it's time to break down as quickly as possible this kind of thrashing of a match. So really the action kicks off in the 9th minute off a long throw for Colorado. It causes confusion. It bounces one time in the box, which from a defensive standpoint is a cardinal sin. You cannot be letting that happen. Bounces one time over Yarrow's head. Milahalovic pounces on it, gets to it just before Nowinski. In my opinion, this goal could have very easily been prevented just by a little bit of communication between Berkey, Yarrow, or Nowinski. On the goal, you notice Nowinski hesitates a little bit before getting to it, allowing Milahalovic to get there first. Moving on, Totland gets through on goal just 90 seconds later. Doesn't really challenge the keeper though. Hits it straight at him. One of our only chances in the first half. Jake Nowinski takes a long throw that eventually leads to another bouncing ball in the box. This time for St. Louis City. Jose Kajima makes good connection on a volley attempt, and you will never believe what happens. St. Louis City gets called for a handball in the box, a penalty kick to St. Louis City. I don't know about you guys, but I was elated to actually see us get a penalty call.
They are 1 for 3 on the season. That's a 33% success rate.
Tough, man. Yeah, when Lovin stepped up to take this, I was more sure than anything that he was about to put this home. The season that he's had, the adversity that he's faced, he's made such an incredible comeback. I had no doubts in my mind that he was going to beat Zach Steffen, which he did, and he proceeded to dent the crossbar. Truly, there's going to be an imprint from that ball for the rest of the season. Moving on, after the 25th minute, we see a good save, from Berkey 60 seconds into the second half. I've talked a lot this season about how we need to fortify ourselves in those first 15 minutes. Not that in this 5-3-2. Then you will never guess what happens once again. In the 59th minute, a Colorado long throw. Thankfully, this time Berkey collected it, so avoided
Still
that.
bounced in the box.
Did bounce in the box over Yarrow's head once again. Thankfully, Berkey kind of sketchily collected it. One of the weirdest moments of the year. I'm not going to spend too much time on this anomaly of a goal. Berkey has worse distribution than some of the Amazon people that we know and gets the ball taken away. Throws it right to Milahalovic. The hot hand just slots it away as easy as you like. And Colorado goes up 2-0. Now, Lovin had another chance halfway through the second half in the 65th minute. Other than that, though, nothing really going for St. Louis City. The attack was not really building anything. We did not have many chances whatsoever in this game, unlike against a team like Miami, where we have 20 shots. Not the same performance. To conclude this game, Colorado gets the third goal, the real dagger, a penalty kick in the 92nd minute. It's a true penalty kick. Tough to see. Milahalovic completes his hat trick. I'm done saying his name. Fair play to him. He did get a hat trick for the side, earned himself a team of the match day. But yeah, that takes us to the end of a brutal St. Louis City defeat at City Park.
Yep. I was lucky enough to be at work and didn't have to watch this match with my own eyes. But definitely just as disappointed to see the scoreline at the end of it all. Definitely a disappointing match. And yeah, there's a lot to take back from it or to take away from it. Specifically, statistics wise, this is the first match where, like Ethan said, we actually did not provide a lot going forward. Unlike the last couple matches against FC Dallas or Seattle, where we're losing, but we're still putting up 20 shots and have a higher expected goals or higher XG. This match we did not create nearly as many. We still had 14 shots, but none of them were truly a test to the keeper. Besides, of course, like the PK or one or two chances here and there, but nothing really to write home about. It definitely shows how this formation was meant to shore up the back line and took the steam out of an already struggling offense.
Yeah, it was a really tough watch. Just like most fans, I was pretty down watching this game unfold, and then the penalty kick in the dying minutes of the game was just a true cherry on top and sums up not only this game, but this current run of form that we've been going through perfectly well, where we can't get anything going, and all it takes is just some frustration and a pretty like I wouldn't say hard foul, but a clear foul in the box. And yeah, we get put to bed pretty easy and on our own home turf.
Truly the fat lady song at City Park after Josh Yarrow made that tackle.
Akil Watts.
Oof, oof. I missed that. Akil Watts on that tackle. Thanks. It, at the end of other losses and draws this season, at least we've got to come away from games passing the eye test. We can be like, okay, at least we look good. We're doing this well. We can take a positive from this. This was truly the first game in a while that I've seen where there aren't really many positives to take away. I'm looking at the stat sheet from the game, and we were dominated in every statistic except for total shots and, ironically, Grayson, accurate passes, which I thought you would actually be really proud of. We had 80% or 78% passing on the night, which is all around decent for a St. Louis City side, but yeah, truly a dominant performance put on display from the Rapids. They're performing well this season. I think going into this, they were sixth in the table, and they showed it. They showed it.
Should we get into our 3 points for this week, gentlemen? What are we feeling?
Just to wrap it up, after this loss, this puts St. Louis in 12th place in the Western Conference out of 14 teams, sitting on 18 total points after 18 matches played. It's really tough. And this win for Colorado propelled them from 6th into 5th place, sitting on 28 points.
Glad to help.
I personally am not, man. And looking toward the top of the table, a result like this just puts us further and further away from those really good teams like Salt Lake, LA, and LA this season. Frustrating stuff, man. Thankfully, hey, we can take solace in being above Sporting, KC.
To be fair, we are only 6 points out of a playoff series, a play-in game, if you will. So there is, not a ton of ground to be made up as far as points go, but with the performance on the field, there's a lot of ground to be made up in passing the eye test again.
Yep.
Indeed.
Great. You want to take us into your first point, though?
Yeah. I'll kick it off this week. So I think this match was super poor, and it definitely showed a reflection of what exactly went wrong for St. Louis. Not on the pitch, but in the off season. My point specifically is about Lutz and about Bradley Carnell, and about how, in my belief, I think St. Louis came into this season ill prepared. Last season, we were super stubborn. We're set in our ways. We chased the ball, didn't hold on to it for the sake of possession. We used it. We took our chances, and we scored goals. Easiest answer to get our team working again is just to make some changes to the squad. But sadly, thanks to our stubbornness, once again, we can't really make changes to the squad. We were stubborn enough to not support our offense. In the offseason, we lost 10 goals in output from Giochini. We lost 6 goals from Jared Stroud. So that's 16 goals. And we did not bring in a single offensive signing besides Kahima, who came from college, doesn't have a single MLS goal to his name. So I'm not giving him any MLS goals to count for that. We did bring in some defensive signings. We brought in Thomas Totland and Chris Durkin. Of course, those are, fantastic role players. Both have been fantastic and super vital to our success that we have had this season in 3 wins. Bringing in no offensive players in the offseason shows me that Lutz and Carnell had complete trust in the strikers that we did have. Big Sam Adeniran receives an offer to go to Europe. At the time, I did think it was the right call to decline that move. I thought, St. Louis, we don't have any other backup strikers, out and out strikers. So we need to keep Adeniran. Now I can admit that I think I was wrong, and I think Sam should have left the club. He lost a chance to go back to Europe, and we may have lost a player right then. At some point, there was a rift in the dressing room, or I guess more specifically out on the training ground. It is believed that Big Sam may have not been training properly, giving it his all on the training ground. There was some sort of bust up, and Sam gets dismissed from training. A lot of people think that that was the exact moment that we've lost Sam, and now he is linked with another transfer. We're not sure at this point if it's a European transfer or a transfer somewhere in the States still. But either way, that's a St. Louis player who lost his drive, who lost his motivation to play for the club. In my mind, that's on the manager. Like, that's mismanagement. I feel for Big Sam. We had João Klaus, he's a prolific striker, scored 10 goals for us last season. He has 5 on the year this season, but he is in a grave drought at the moment. I'm not mad with Carnell and his treatment of Sam at this point, just because I think Klaus needs to play these matches. My qualm is earlier in the season when Sam did have a hot foot. He had 2 goals, scored some winners for us. I think he should have been brought more into the rotation then, not immediately froze out of the starting 11 and allowed that whole situation to kind of build up. And now we are left with only one out-and-out striker in João Klaus. Our 2 backups are Kahima and Thorson. Neither one are out-and-out strikers. Kahima is more of a cam/winger. Thorson, in my mind, can play winger or left bench. But yeah, just mismanagement, and the squad depth there's just a massive drop off in squad depth. With Sam gone, losing a bunch of people to injuries. We lost Alm, we've lost Celio, we've lost Nielsen, we've lost Ostrich. We have some reinforcements finally on the way, but to me, that proves that we were not prepared for this season. Now that we're having to make 2 major offensive signings and 1 major defensive signing, in my mind, that shows that Lutz and Carnell were just a little bit too stubborn in their game plan for this season, a little bit too trusting in what they thought we had brought on the season, and I guess didn't see what we saw at the end of the year, which was definitely a mass decline in output for St. Louis. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out that I think it's a little bit too late in my mind, but I am still glad that there is backup coming for St. Louis. Another major thing that I wanted to bring up here, now that we've lost Giacchini, Jonathan Bell, AZ Jackson, Sam Adeniran, we have lost a ton of people of color from our squad. In my mind, it's super important for the club to be representative of the community around us. St. Louis is a super diverse city. I think 43% of St. Louis is made up of African American, so American people. So I think it's super important for St. Louis to reflect that on the squad. And right now we have sold many players of color, and we're bringing in white European men, which is fine. They have tons of skill, but hey, at some point we need to bring some diversity to the squad. I guess that's not a major point on like skill or tactics, but it still, I think, is a super important part of the club and to the community that the club serves. So,
Yeah,
any thoughts on those?
I agree with that point wholeheartedly, Grayson. When your product on the field doesn't look like the product of the community, it's tough for the whole community to get behind that product. And like I've been telling you guys, I think we need to bring in, super fast, in my opinion, more than likely African striker. I know we just lost that in Big Sam, but Big Sam didn't want to play for the team as mismanagement from Carnell. So I think be on the lookout for a signing similar to Sam's build who actually wants to play for the team and give us passionate minutes.
Yeah, Grayson, I love that point. I think that that's one of the most beautiful parts about St. Louis is its diverse aspect. The Latin community is huge, and we don't have a very large contingent of Latin players at all. I think that the Bosnian community is massive in St. Louis, and I know we had Silmir Pedro for a little bit. I'm not sure the status of his loan off the top of my head, but I believe he's just out on loan at the moment. So yeah, I agree. I think that the club could do a better job of just reflecting uh the city around it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take us into our second point.
Please do.
Well, folks,
My laptop into.
no big dust ups for me this week. I'm just going to keep it cool and calm and collected.
No cussing out the refs this week, Jake.
No cussing out the refs, but I am going to use some profanity. So if you are underage, get permission from your parents before you listen. But my point this week is that our team is lacking passion. With Tim Parker being out of our lineup, we lacked the natural fire that he plays with, for lack of a better term, that fuck you bitch pay me type of passion. And it feels like we're relying on a couple of our players to pull us out of this slump, when in reality, it's going to take the entire team. We've been saying this all season, and we said it when Edu was out. The team needs to step up as a whole. We've got Allstrock and Celio out for the season, and these are positions that are now up for grabs, and nobody is trying to win these spots with those aforementioned guys sidelined. Um, in my opinion, the only players that played with passion last night were Markinich, obviously because he didn't want to lose to his former club. He said in the pre-match presser that the only good thing about Colorado was the scenery. And Indiana Vasilev was the other player who played with passion, and it was super unfortunate that one of those guys got subbed off for the other to be on. And Indy was the only one playing with fire once Markinich was off. He was the only one providing any sort of spark going forward. And it really, really shows that without passion and without a will to win, the balls that are going to fall your way normally when you're giving 100% effort and you've got love for the badge on your chest aren't going to go that way because you don't care nearly as much as you should. So that's all I have to say about that point.
Well said, Jacob. Especially with the Copa America starting and the Euros already in progress. When you watch these tournaments, you see the passion that comes along with international soccer. And I ask myself if the MLS kind of creates a culture in the league that not necessarily makes losing okay, but doesn't challenge clubs as much to be an out and out winner and have that passion every single week. And I'm curious, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of that does come from the relegation promotion argument that MLS faces every year in and out. That, in my opinion, will never happen in the US unless the MLS folds. Um, just MLS has total control over the clubs in the league, and there's no way they would allow any of their clubs to leave the league or lose money. So in that sense, I don't think it will ever happen. So we're struck with the playoff format, which could be messed with in years to come, but I think that's just the American side of sports that the MLS has embraced. And I think that's pretty cool that here in the US, the MLS shows a different side of soccer that you don't get to see in Europe. So I think that is pretty neat. But I also see that at times the regular season can get pretty bland and pretty meaningless, especially if you're out of the playoff spot and not within reach of it. You can just kind of end up going through the motions. So I'm super glad that there is a lot of European players in the squad who are used to fighting week in and week out with that type of passion. I think we're seeing a lot of frustration start to seep in and take place to that passion. So hopefully that frustration can turn into some fuel for some good passion in the weeks coming. But we'll see. Come on, St. Louis.
That's a good lead into my point, Grayson, because I think what we're seeing outwardly from a lot of fans as well is frustration and not that passion that St. Louis City needs. And that's my point for this week is that we're gonna be all right. All right. Right now, this is a very bad stretch for St. Louis City. I will admit that. I'd be ignorant to feel like 8 straight games without a win is not the club's literal worst patch of a season ever. Since our conception, this is as bad as St. Louis City has been. All right. Things are gonna get better. Help is on the way. Soccer is not a fair weather fan sport. All right. Now, if you've been a St. Louis fan for a long time and you know a thing or two about this club right here, St. Louis Football Club, all right? This is the USL team in St. Louis before the prelude to St. Louis City, if you will, all right? I'm going to read to you the finishes for St. Louis FC in their time as a club. 9th place in the Eastern Conference did not qualify for the playoffs in their first year. 14th in the Western Conference did not qualify. 12th in the Eastern Conference did not qualify. 8th in the Western Conference. They did qualify for the playoffs that season. 2019, 11th in the Eastern Conference, did not qualify. 2020, the club's final year, they did go second. So they did actually have a very good season in their final year. Very good stuff. What I'm trying to say is that you have got to be supportive. Right now, you cannot be on Facebook talking about our players can't take penalty kicks. I don't understand why the coach is still at St. Louis City. He's terrible. The players don't run. Terrible, terrible players. That's a word for word Facebook post, guys. We can't be online talking like this. All right, we got to be supportive. We got to help our guys get through these tough times. We got to be in the stands chanting louder than we were before. If you're just gonna be a St. Louis City fan when things are going well, I don't want to hear it. Keep it to yourself. I like Jacob's passion. I like his comments. I like that he is frustrated. I think that that is the energy that fans need to have, but it can't just be, I don't get it. This is horrible. Get these guys out of here. We need new guys. All right. So I guess my point is stop being toxic. Chill out. It's not quite time to hit the panic button. All right. We're still better than Sporting Kansas City. We've been a club for less than 2 seasons. All right. Less than 2 full MLS seasons. I have faith and hope in our guys, and I don't think anything's going to kill that.
Yeah, I think that's really, really fair to say. I do have faith in the team going forward. Am I frustrated? 100%. But winning is hard. Like being a winner just in all things, not just sports, is really hard to do. We were blessed last season with, an immaculate record-breaking run from an expansion club. Would it have been great for this season to completely mirror that season? Absolutely. Maybe not get knocked out in the playoffs in the first round, but you guys know what I'm getting at. But that's genuinely just not how sports work. Like this isn't the Premier League. You're not going to have repeat Premier League champions every single season, and that's even more so for the MLS. It's been a long time since we've had a back-to-back champion in the MLS or back-to-back conference champion in the MLS. It's tough to do. The way the league is set up kind of does its best to ensure that just in its competitive balance rules, not really rules, but in the way they keep the competitive balance even across the league. So yeah, you're right. Don't hit the panic button. Be frustrated, voice your frustrations. But if you are just going to be a fair weather fan, get the fuck out, bro. Don't hop on the train when it's going good. You got to be here when it's bumpy too. Not everything is rainbow and sunshine in St. Louis, weather-wise and sports fan-wise. So suck it the fuck up. Turn up at the next match. Stand up, be loud, clap your hands, and scream F-bombs at the referees.
For real. Yeah, for real. For real. Just have some passion. Bring the passion that you want the players to have, you know?
Yeah, guys. After two pretty terrible matches in a row, I will be at the next match, and I better hear some fans getting rowdy. We're coming up against Atlanta United. I'm gonna be on my feet screaming. I expect all of you guys out there screaming, no matter how the game goes.
For real. For real. I expect that. And just before we preview your trip to City Park for Atlanta United, Grayson, we ready to get in a kit clash?
Yep.
Let's do it. Kid
Let's
Clash
do it.
time, baby.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm looking up the Colorado kit just to have on my viewpoint, and I just want you guys to know that I was Googling Kit Clash, not
Someday you
Colorado
can Google
Rapids.
Kid Clash and we will pop up first.
You
Someday.
guys cool if I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Please.
Okay, I know a couple episodes ago I said that Kit Clash is our only time to get our lick back against the teams that beat us, especially beat us at home. But I fuck with this kit, bro. It goes hard for me. I like the design of it, the different like triangles that go in it with the different color blues. Obviously, if you can't tell, blue's my favorite color. Big fan of the like dark blue with the red accents and the collar. That goes hard. Don't know anything about UC Health, so I can't talk shit on that. I like the back design as well, where it's just completely flat blank blue with the cool font for the name and the numbers. So I'm high on this kit. The light blue is definitely pivoting me to be even higher on this kit. So I'm gonna rate this motherfucking 8.7.
Mm, that's a lot of love, dude. Rightfully so. I am totally with you, Jacob. This kit is it, baby. Other than I was telling Trista that this is probably other than this is the best kit other than the St. Louis City jerseys in the MLS for me. This is unbelievable. The colors are perfect. The geometric designs that, represent the mountains out in Colorado are great. The colors on it represent the sunsets out there. Like, come on. Everything about this kit just hits home. They have a little emblem on the very back right here where on our jersey it says, all for city. They have a Colorado sunset with a river and mountains in it. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, this is as close to a St. Louis City kit as I think we're gonna find in the MLS. For me, 9.2.
Damn.
Very, very interesting. I like this kit. I think it's neat. I I actually might like their home kit better. We're going to talk about that later this season. This kit is pretty neat. I do agree the geometric shapes on it are pretty neat. I like how it kind of looks like sun rays are coming out of the logo almost
Yeah.
on the shirt. Pretty neat. Colorado Rapids. As you guys know, I did live in Colorado last year, so I got to spend one season going to Rapids games for that debut St. Louis season. Got to see my first St. Louis game at Dick's Sporting Goods Park out in Rada. Um, but yeah, they were terrible back then. Uh, this Rapids team is much more exciting to watch, and that is definitely reflected in the kits. This kit I do dig as well. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.2.
To end it with just like a little sidebar, they have the coolest captain armband in the league with
Yep.
the Colorado C. That is the
Yeah.
coolest like little accessory that they could have added to their whatchamacallit, their brand.
That's pretty cool. I didn't touch that.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes crazy, Jacob.
Yeah,
I
that
agree. I caught that too.
as far as armbands go, the armband is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. Colorado, fair play.
Yeah.
Totally fair play. You
Yeah.
guys, you guys killed it.
All right. Well, with that, I think that brings Kit Clash to a close. So let's go ahead and start previewing our next matchup, which is going to be this Saturday. Like I mentioned, I will be there in person this week. So be prepared for a little vlog style, maybe throw in some clips before the match. What are you guys feeling for Atlanta? I'm feeling not very optimistic, especially after this match. Um, Atlanta is a very quality squad. They're not having the greatest season in the world. They currently sit in. Ooh,
I want to say
where they at?
ninth. I believe they're in ninth place in the table right now. So just squeaking out a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference.
You would be correct.
Like you, Grayson, I am not feeling super optimistic in this game. Something about not winning 8 in a row, not scoring in our last 3 games just doesn't make me feel super confident entering a game. Like last week, though, I just don't care. I am going to predict another City Park victory because it's gonna go our way one time or another. And Atlanta does have a good squad. They will be missing Almeida uh for our game, which is great. And they did sell their best striker, Giacomakis. He was leading. Yeah, yeah. Come on, give me some props for that one.
Georgios Giacomakis, I'm pretty sure, is
Yep, the Greek
Greek
lad.
Greek
I believe he
god.
moved to Mexico, if I'm not
Yeah. Cruz
mistaken.
Azul for I think a $10 million fee, which was pretty fat because he got the golden boot last season in the MLS. So I was quite surprised to see him leave Atlanta United, especially in the middle of the season. I thought it was quite a strange choice, but he has been injured for the beginning of the season, and it seems like uh, Atlanta United just tried to make do without. They do have two strikers who have been playing in the backup, Daniel Rios and Xander Silva, both of them with 2 goals on the season. Actually, hearing that Thiago Almada is also out, it gives me a little bit more hope because now they're missing their 2 star players. I honestly was planning on predicting my first ever loss of the season. I know. I just think it's about time I become a little bit more critical of St. Louis, and I think a 1-0 loss is what's going to happen, even with their 2 star players missing.
Damn.
I personally feel like I could vomit, Grayson. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That was
Uh
3 gunshots to the chest prediction, bro.
I'm hoping St. Louis feels the same way and they win a game.
Go ahead, Ethan.
well, how I'm feeling about Atlanta United is that they're underperforming this season. I believe they recently went through a coaching change. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they
Right.
fired their head coach halfway through the season. You do have Dax McCarty, who is a very classy central midfielder, MLS veteran. They also have Brad Guzan in net, who has not played super strong for them since arriving. I feel I feel good about Joao Klaus. The more hate that I see about Joao Klaus on Facebook, the more I feel insistent that he is like a top striker in the league. So I'm picking him to score, and I'm picking a 2-1 victory.
Okay, well, I'll start with my goal prediction. Edu Leuven from a set piece. I said I'm gonna pick it till it happens. It hasn't happened in 300 plus minutes of play, so we're gonna keep
Despite
picking
the
it.
free kick off the post and the PK, dude.
Yeah. Selfishly, I blame myself for him missing that PK because as he's stepping up to take it, I was like already planning to be like, fuck yes, I guessed one right. Let's fucking go. Um, yeah, so a little bit extra damage there for me. But you know, I was looking at the standings and in the Eastern Conference, if we were over there, we would only be 2 points behind them. So it feels like we're about even as far as our seasons have gone. And this Atlanta United team being down 2 of their star players, us being at home, coming off of a brutal loss. I think Bradley Carnell's on the training ground and in the locker room lighting a fire, or at least I hope he's lighting a fire underneath their asses. Tim Parker coming back, shoring up that back line once again. I'm picking this one. This one's the game. This one's the floodgates open game. And uh yeah, I'm 4-0. I think
I
Please.
really hope that you're right and I am dead
Please.
wrong.
I think this is going to be dominant. Uh I think we're going to look like vintage St. Louis, which vintage is literally only a year old. But yeah, I feel it in me bones.
Atlanta United also lost Miles Robinson in the offseason. Another big name just throw out there. Just trying to find something.
Got
But
to.
yeah, I mean, not too shabby. Hopefully you guys are correct and St. Louis does come back to excite us all. I would love to see that in person. But yeah, so definitely look forward to uh next week's episode. I'll show off a little bit of City Park. What do you guys think? Anything else before we wrap this episode up?
I don't think we're ever going to beat the Scandinavia FC allegations.
Hey, we got a lot of European.
Yeah, you guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend, rate 5 stars on Spotify, follow on Spotify, and tell your mom you love her.
STL, STL. Come on, Joe.